Hey everybody, John here with Cruiser Customizing. Today we're back in the shop with our 2016 Victory Cross Country. Today we're going to throw some more accessories from Arlen Ness on this thing and give it a little bit more stopping power. As you can see, this new rotor from Arlen Ness is quite a bit bigger than the OEM rotor. This one's actually 15 inches, so definitely going to give us a bit more bite up front. Plus it's got this awesome beveled edge that matches a lot of the other accessories that we've already installed. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, to get these rotors off, we're going to have to get the front wheel off. So I'm just going to start by taking off these calipers. We'll tie those out of the way so we can drop this front wheel out. With the calipers out of the way, now we can go ahead and drop the front wheel. There's just a couple pinch bolts here on the front, and then you've got the axle that will unscrew. With the axle completely loosened up, it's still going to be a little tough to get it out of there. I usually just use an extension from the other side and I'll poke it out just a little bit until it starts to drop, and then this large collar portion of the axle will drop out. Before I pull that all the way out, go ahead and drop that extension back out and make sure you support this wheel so it doesn't just drop down. There's going to be a couple spacers on this wheel. Just go ahead and take those off and set them to the side, because we'll be moving this wheel around quite a bit and we don't want to lose those. When you get ready to reinstall the new rotors, I actually just take a little bit of blue Loctite and just dribble it on each one of these bolts here. Just need a little drop of it, and that's going to make sure that these things don't vibrate loose as you're out riding around. With all of the bolts finger tight, I'm going to go ahead and torque these down. Whenever you tighten them up, to make sure everything seats nice and even, I actually just go in a star pattern, a lot like when you're putting a car tire back on. So I'll just give these a first round here. And now I'll go ahead and give them each about a quarter turn. Now we can flip it around and do the other side. A couple things to note before we reinstall the tire. First off, rotation. Make sure that you have the rotation of the tire going in the right direction. There's actually a directional arrow right at the top on this one. Since we didn't take the tire off, we know we've got it going back on in the right direction. Also, we had a couple spacers we took off when we pulled this out. Now these spacers are not the same size, so make sure that you get these back in the right spot. We've got the large spacer going on this side and the narrow spacer going on this side. So with everything put back on the tire and the tire in the right direction, we're just going to roll this into the fender well here and get everything situated. Now I'm just going to lift up slowly and we'll get this alignment as close as we can. Then I'm going to take the axle and start pushing it through. Once you get the axle in, it's going to hold the tire in place, and then you can pay attention to the other side and make sure as this axle goes through, it's nice and straight, everything lines up so you can thread it into the fork on the other side. All right, now that we're through, we can go ahead and start to snug this down. With these larger diameter rotors, the original mounting points aren't going to work. So Arlen Ness has an extension bracket. This is going to step that caliper away just a little bit, so it's going to clear these large diameter rotors. So we'll go ahead and install these. And again, you don't want any of this stuff moving around. So I'm going to take the bolts that we'll be installing this with, and again, they're going to get just a little dab of the blue Loctite. With the new bracket in place, you can see that it stepped it away from those original mounting points. So now we can go ahead and throw back on the caliper. After you've completed your install, make sure you go ahead and drop the bike back down to the ground, get it nice and stable, and set all of the bolts that you've touched during this install back to the manufacturer's specifications. With all of the accessories we installed in one of our previous videos, these new floorboards, the controls, and the engine covers, all of these beveled accessories looked really sharp, but we still had a bit of a sore spot. This OEM brake reservoir looks a bit out of place, but luckily Arlen Ness has a replacement for that as well, so let's go ahead and throw this thing on. This one's a fairly easy install. We've just got one 10 mil bolt that holds the reservoir to the bracket, and then a hose that we've got to disconnect and connect to the new unit. We don't want to get brake fluid all over our brand new bike, so I'm just going to shove a rag up underneath this thing to try to catch some of it that spills out. Also, you can just grab a pair of needle nose and gently crimp down on the hose. You don't want to pinch this thing too tight where it's going to damage the hose. Just put a little bit of pressure on there, and then you can grab some needle nose. And this should slide right off. There we go. This hose is going to be used on our replacement unit, so go ahead and remove that from this original. Go ahead and snug that up, and then make sure you pull that clamp back into position. Last thing we need to do here is go ahead and fill this up with some brake fluid. Just be real careful, make sure you don't get any of this on the paint. Give that just a second to let all those air bubbles rise out. We shouldn't need to bleed the system because we actually didn't remove any of the stuff out of our master cylinder here at the front, and we didn't force any air into the line. So go ahead and just gently pump on that. Make sure it's not working any air back up to the top. The level is nice and full, so we can go ahead and put our cap back on. And we are finished for today. So if you happen to have any questions or comments about any of these products, please leave them for us in the comment section below. As always, you can subscribe to our channel. That way you're not going to miss out on any of the upcoming videos or our finish up on our 2016 Victory Cross Country with all these awesome Arlen Ness products. And until next time, everybody, my name's John. Thanks for watching. Ride safe.